This One's Wife. Confessions. What we learned. Hello, I'm H.G. Tudor. This One's Wife's first episode of Confessions of a Female Founder appeared. Her first guest was Whitney Wolfe Herd, who was involved in Tinder and founded Bumble, the dating app. She once was the world's youngest female billionaire, although the share price of Bumble tanked and now she's worth only $400 million. She was there to provide us with her insight in respect of being a female founder. So what did we learn from her? Well, we learned that she had postpartum preeclampsia. We didn't get to learn about her career trajectory because This One's Wife simply rejected talking about that, describing it as covered ground. One would have thought that the career trajectory of one of your guests who's a businesswoman would be of particular interest to those listening who might also be considering entering business themselves, to see how she started and where she got to. But no, that's ground covered and not something that This One's Wife wants to talk about because she doesn't understand any of that and it's got nothing to do with her. We learned from Whitney Wolfe Herd that motherhood changed her perspective and her work-life balance, that she sees challenges as a moment to cower or conquer. We learned that 3 times she told us how wonderful This One's Wife is. We also learned what it's like to be a gal pal with This One's Wife. Furthermore, Whitney Wolfe Herd didn't like school and wishes she hadn't worked so hard. She also wondered how This One's Wife was managing when she debuted Archie to the world. She thinks that This One's Wife has had a brutalizing time in the public eye, and that she also follows something called the Rule of Fives. So there we have a former female billionaire who's operated in the world of business for years, and that's the sum total of what we learn from her. What a missed opportunity. But it doesn't end there. Here's what we learned from that captain of industry, This One's Wife. She too had postpartum preeclampsia, in a bit of mirroring. That she's obsessed with packaging. That she told us about how she met Whitney Wolfe Herd at a New Year's Eve party, because that's what we all need to know about, isn't it? How she met her guest. That's crucial to understanding business. That she bottles her essence. That it's about showing up. That the conversation was invariably steered towards This One's Wife's own experiences, because as a self-absorbed narcissist, she has to make it all about her. Apparently, she wanted a relaxed and easy conversation. Right, fascinating. That it took 8 minutes and 48 seconds of the podcast to elapse before Whitney Wolfe Herd got anywhere near mentioning the word business. This One's Wife doesn't know what a porch pirate is. That it's about balancing her work and home life. That Lilibet would sometimes come into her office after she'd had a nap. That building something while a child is going through potty training is important. Well, fuck me ragged. What entertaining insight all of that is. Notice there's nothing there whatsoever about business. There's nothing insightful about how you start a business, what you should be considering, what's the planning process, where do you look for investment, do you look for investment, did Whitney Wolfe Herd experience difficulties in respect of securing investment, what were some of the pitfalls of that, what would she advise somebody who was looking to gain investment, what ought they to do? There's nothing about overcoming a toxic workplace. After all, Whitney Wolfe Herd was the victim of sexual harassment in the workplace, and she brought a claim and had a substantial payoff, and then it led her to set up Bumble. And yet, surely there must be many stories about what she endured, which would be applicable to other people in, first of all, explaining what that was and how they dealt with it, but also how to avoid it. But of course, this one's wife isn't going to go anywhere near all of that because she's notorious for creating toxic workplaces. There was nothing whatsoever about overcoming particular different hurdles that exist in relation to running a business. The possibility that as a woman you might experience sexual discrimination, that you might not be taken as seriously as men. How was that dealt with? There's nothing about overcoming the hurdles posed by the type of marketplace that perhaps she was trying to get into. Was it something that wasn't taken seriously, or was it a crowded marketplace? How was that dealt with? There were no tips provided in relation to the best practice with regard to how she created the business. Nothing about the mistakes that occurred and how she learned from them. There was nothing about saying, don't do this, it's a complete waste of time. I ended up wasting time and money on it. You need to avoid that. Don't do what I did. A list perhaps of things you should definitely do when you're starting a business and things that you definitely ought not to do. What about something in relation to how to understand the market? What tips could she provide for understanding the market, for really getting into the beating heart of it? Did she use consultants? Did she pay people to provide market information? Where did the market intelligence come from? Was it based on own experiences? Was there somebody mentoring her? How useful are mentors? How do you go about getting one? How do you win customers? What's the most effective way to do it? What did she find in terms of the most effective method of advertising? Is there something that she wishes she should have done? Is there something that she's pleased that she didn't do? Is there something that she wishes that she had done? These are the key questions. This is the type of information that people would want to hear, that would make the podcast meaningful. But we all know it's never going to happen. And it's not going to be the case with the interviews that follow, because this one's wife lacks the intelligence and the experience, but also the ability to be interested, genuinely interested in other people. She is a woman who was a jobbing actress who married a prince. That's her CV. She hasn't run any businesses. She had a blog. She has now started a business. And all she could talk about was the packaging, which shows she hasn't been involved in other aspects of it because they probably don't exist. What about the logistics? What about the negotiations? How did she choose her suppliers for the spread and the flour sprinkles? Did she go to Pet Zara's and buy guinea pig food? Is that how she did it? Did she negotiate an excellent contract with a particular provider? Did she undertake sample examination before deciding which one that she would use? How did she determine what the ingredients would be for the cookie mix, and where did she get them from? What tests were taken in relation to the tea? Did she determine that these were the types of tea, peppermint, ginger, I think it was, and hibiscus, as the ones that would be best for a customer base? Did she look at any of that? Even though you might not like this one's wife, at least understanding more about the way that she founded her business would at least be more interesting than the fridge magnet platitudes and fluffy flattery that it received from Whitney Wolfe Herd. But we don't get any of that. And do you know why? Because if she had done any of that, we would have heard about it, because we know this one's wife loves nothing more than to talk about herself. And therefore, we don't get to hear about it because she's never done it. She's just selected those teas because those are the ones to choose. She's not done any market analysis because she just thinks it'll sell because it's me. She doesn't think about what her audience is because her arrogance tells her everybody will want to buy this because it's associated with me. And if you don't, well, you're a racist hater and I don't like you. Confessions of a Female Founder is a complete waste of time, and you all knew that. But it is demonstrative of how this one's wife's narcissism causes her to not only think that what she creates is something that people are going to be really interested in, but it also prevents her from actually creating something that people would be interested in. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.